Southern Indiana National Guard troops now suing a private military contractor say they were kept in the dark about a toxic chemical where they were working in Iraq. Tonight, what the military contractor has to say about that lawsuit and what could be devastating effects of those soldiers on toxic tour of duty.
But yeah, they could be in reservoirs, like that.
Okay. Russ Kimberling has nearly 2,000 images from Iraq. They chronicle his duties there as a captain in the Indiana National Guard.
The border to Kuwait and this berm here, and the other side's Iraq.
So every day you would cross from Kuwait into Iraq?
Mm-hmm.
Kimberling now pores over the pictures, wondering why he and other soldiers weren't warned about this, a yellowish substance in the sand at Karmat Ali near Basra.
If it came up, they would say, don't worry about it. It's a mild irritant. It's no big deal. You may get a bloody nose, but it's not a problem.
He says he got that don't worry message from workers with KBR, an American contractor headquartered in Houston, Texas, at the time owned by Halliburton. KBR was restoring Iraqi oil fields. The Guard members were protecting the private contractors.
It's dirt and sand. I didn't worry about it. I did what I was there to do. It was take care of the contractor.
The yellow substance in the sand was later confirmed to be sodium dichromate. The EPA calls it a human carcinogen. It was an anti-corrosive used at the Karmat Ali water injection plant before the Americans arrived. It may have been spread by Iraqis to sabotage the site at the beginning of the invasion by coalition forces.
This stuff's all over the place. There were 500 to 700 bags of this stuff as well, many of them opened.
Mike Doyle is the attorney for 51 Southern Indiana National Guard members who have filed a federal lawsuit against KBR. They claim the company knew about the chemical and endangered the soldiers' health. Russ Kimberling says one day in Iraq, he realized the yellow substance might be more than a mild irritant.
I remember that day when we jumped out. I jumped out of the vehicle and I'm kicking the ground. I turn around and everyone's in their chemical gear, all protected. But not me or any of the other soldiers.
He says the people in the protective gear were managers for KBR.
Yeah, they know something we don't, and it can't be good.
I mean, that's what's kind of frustrating about it is you have these fellows that were out there. They had every reason to expect that if KBR knew, and they did, that there was this poison out there that they had zero protection for, they'd tell them about it.
But KBR says they didn't know. No one at KBR in Houston would do an on-camera interview, but a company spokesperson sent me this statement. And it says, in part, their contract with the U.S. military did not authorize KBR to conduct an initial assessment, nor did it authorize KBR to provide protective equipment to the United States military. The company also says the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers was contractually obligated to provide KBR with a worksite free of all environmental hazards and war dangers prior to KBR's commencement of work at the site. Once sodium dichromate contamination at the facility was identified, KBR notified the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers and worked with them to remediate the area. But the Guardsmen and their attorneys say they have recently obtained proof that KBR knew about the sodium dichromate weeks, possibly months, before the soldiers knew. They say this document, dated June 21st, from a former KBR employee,
saying, look, there's a problem out here,
was a warning to the company. The memo says, due to the potential toxicity of sodium dichromate, I suggest that the areas of soil stained yellow be cordoned off and that sample be collected and tested. It was nearly 3 months later, in September, when Russ Kimberling says he saw the KBR employees in protective suits.
Yeah, we're in the military. We do what we have to do, but we don't need to be exposed to something that could be prevented. I mean, it's simple.
When I lay in there in bed at night and I get to coughing and then I can't breathe, by the time he gets old enough, I'm probably not even going to be able to coach him in baseball, basketball, football, do nothing with him in sports.
That's your fear?
Really, a ticking time bomb. I mean, you don't know. It's like a catalyst that's been put in your body that anything you're prone to genetically is going to blow up.
Every single one of these men whether they're ultimately going to develop cancer, and they all won't, needs to have the best kind of screening on an ongoing basis to make sure that if they have something, God forbid, that it's taken care of and dealt with in the right way before it's too late.
And late last week, I received another statement from KBR. They now admit that the company was told in June about the sodium dichromate. However, they say the company worked to clean it up. KBR says the National Guard troops aren't showing signs of long-term exposure. The Guardsmen point out that one soldier in a lawsuit has died of a lung disease. Another is near death with lung cancer. And you can read the company's full statements at WHAS11.com. You can also see Indiana Senator Evan Bayh's testimony requesting a health care fund for these soldiers exposed to toxic chemicals. Doug?